Guys, what's going on? I'm out here working on the 5.9, of course. Working on getting it buttoned up to where it's ready to go in the truck, and just doing the last couple things I need to do. Figured out what I'm going to have to do with the turbo for now. I'm going to have to run the old H1C, which I completely took it apart, cleaned it up, got all the corrosion out of it, painted the compressor cover, painted the exhaust housing, and I've got it on the motor here. And what I did was I installed the exhaust housing on the manifold, and then I was putting the cartridge back in it. And I had hell getting it apart. I had to heat it with a torch a bunch to get and beat on it and oil it to get the cartridge out of the exhaust housing. So I already had the exhaust. Well, how did I do that? No, I had it mounted on here to get it apart, and then I took it off of here, sandblasted the housing, painted it, put it back on here to install everything once I got everything cleaned and painted. And I hooked my oil drain line up, and I'm putting the cartridge back in it, and it's a real tight fit, so I've got this small dead blow hammer, and I'm hitting here, and here and here and on the bottom, and it's slowly working its way back in. And you've got to work it in and go slowly, because otherwise you get it cocked sideways, and the turbine contacts the exhaust housing here, and it'll break. So I'm being easy with it, and I'm tapping it, and I'm going along easy, and I do literally the very last swing I'm going to do, and the back of the hammer contacts something on the alternator here, and it throws me off, and I hit one of, right there. I hit, and just as lightly as I hit it, I wouldn't have thought it would do anything, but it snapped that sucker right off. And I really wanted to throw the hammer across the shop, but I had no one to be mad at but myself. I should have put the compressor cover on and been hitting that or something. I don't know. It is what it is. So I thought that had completely hosed me, but I got to thinking, that big T4 exhaust housing H1C that I showed you guys the other day, I think that's the same cartridge and everything as this one. So I got it over here on the bench, and I've got it all taken apart. And it looks exactly the same. Now, I haven't measured it. I haven't tried to fit anything yet. But I may not be hosed. I may be able to just use this center section without the T4 exhaust housing and the straight output non-flanged compressor cover. So, not sure this is going to save my bacon. If it doesn't, I'm going to have to figure something else out. Really, the only other option I would have is to try and run the HX35, which I'm going to end up running anyway, eventually. But I would have to run that compressor cover and then use a reducer boot from, I think, 3 or 3.5 inch to 2.5 inch, more clamps, another point of failure. That's the whole reason I don't want to run that. I want my flanged output. Eventually, I'm going to send this off and get it machined to fit the HX40 compressor wheel in there, and I'm going to run that. But that's just there's so many different ways I could go, so much little details, different shit I have to do, and it's getting really annoying. But that's just where I'm at right now. Everything else is together. I even got a belt. It ended up being a 77-inch belt. I mean, I got a bracket built for the compressor there and a block-off plate, because I'm not putting power steering on the truck yet. That will be later. Everything else is done. It's ready to go. I've still got to put some bearings in the transmission. I'm going to do an input and an output bearing, upgraded bearings, and that's it. I've got some exhaust parts. Already working on my reducer there, which they sent me the wrong damn flange. It's too thick and it won't fit with this clamp. I mean, it's on there, but it's not going to stay. It's not going to seal. So I've got to get a different flange and figure that out. It's always something. Anyway, look, I've even got a stick of pipe over there waiting. 4-inch exhaust all the way, yeah. So, hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for checking back in. It's raining outside right now, but you know what? Hell with it. Let me show you what I'm doing out here. I've got the motor out of the truck. I've had the motor out of the truck for a couple of days. I test fit the bell housing in that other truck before I pulled this motor, before I put the bell housing or the flywheel housing on the motor, and I found out then I was going to have to cut like 3/8 of an inch off of the ear on that side to clear the bolts, which I did. I'm working on cleaning up and retaping the harness. I replaced my alternator wire. It was like, I don't know, maybe 10 gauge wire. I replaced it in the harness with number 2 welding lead. I left plenty of extra room to route it however I want. Actually, way too much, like an extra 3 feet on this side. I didn't want to come up short, so way too long is better than a little bit too short. And plenty of room on that side. It's going to connect to the starter terminal just like the factory wire did. Now I'm still debating with myself on whether I'm going to actually remove the wiring harness entirely and all the plumbing off the firewall and clean all that shit up and repaint it and repaint the inside of the fenders and all that. There's a possibility I might, but there's also a very, very strong possibility that I'm not going to bother. I know myself, but not well enough to know which one I'm actually going to do. So, we'll see. As cold and rainy as it is every day right now, you know, it's 60 degrees one day, 30 degrees and rain in the next, then it's I don't know what I'm going to do, and mainly because of the weather. So, oh, and you might like this too. What I've done to keep my radio playing is I've run a jumper from the dash power lead just over to the battery right here, so I can I can turn my power on and listen to the radio while I'm out here working, even with no motor in the truck. And listen, I already completely removed the main power lead that went to the starter, so there's no danger of anything arcing except this little shit right here if it ends up touching something, but it'll be fine. It'll be all right. So, probably, I've already done some rerouting of stuff in there too. I'm probably going to do some cleaning up of some of the tubing back there, the copper tubing and all. This is the last time I intend on having an engine out of this truck, period, ever. So, anyway, so let me show you what so this is the original. Let's see if we can get something to cut that off with to show you. We've got water all over the screen. Fucking rain. Let's see if we can cut this one-handed with some sheet metal shears, because I'm all about not doing things right here today. Oh yeah, it actually worked really nice. Yeah. So, a little comparison of our alternator wiring upgrade. Focus. Yeah, that's a hell of an upgrade. And I mean, the original Prestolite alternator was 60 amps. I've gone up to 100 amp least in the bill. I've also got 130 amp right there on the shelf that is the same case and all as this, so if I want to I can put a bigger one on. But that larger lead is going to make it charge much more efficiently, everything run cooler, less loss and such. So it's like the difference between putting a 4-gauge starter wire on your Cummins or a 1/0 starter wire. You can hear and tell that it starts a whole lot better. So there is no question. There's nothing to argue about right there. Bigger wire is better. I don't think anybody will argue with me about that, but who knows. So that's just a little bit of update on the project where I'm at right now. I'm working on it as much as I can, paying attention to details. So I'll be putting the motor in the truck soon. I'm just waiting on the bearings, and then I'll be stabbing it and building the front motor mount. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you later. Please like and subscribe if you would. It really will help get my videos out there. I need more subscribers. Thanks.